Good. How's your summer?
Great. Went by fast. It was a good time.
Coach,
Say that
step up
again.
a little bit, please, away from the wall. It looks better.
Awesome.
So how's the offseason went for you after spring ball?
Off season's been great. You know, most of June and July they're with the strength staff, but we had a few walkthroughs. We went through our installs again, and we feel like we're in a good place going into camp.
What's been your thought seeing all the gains sort of come out and what those numbers have meant for the defense?
Gains.
Like gains in the weight room and
Very excited. You know, when we got here, just with the scheme change going into the new conference, we knew that we had to get bigger. We knew we had to get stronger. And Coach Riley and his team, they did a great job along with the nutritionists, and every single guy who had a target weight hit that weight. So we're super excited about that.
how much was that about going into the Big Ten, knowing just kind of the size and physicality there?
It was a combination of both. You know, I think regardless, the Big Ten is just a bigger, more physical conference. So I think just going into that conference, you naturally had to do that. But then with the different scheme on top of that, we just require guys to be a little bit bigger inside.
When I saw you at the Lot Awards, this was one of the things that you talked about, getting your team a little bit bigger and stronger. Before camp started, are you at that goal where you hoped everyone would be?
We are. And like I said, everyone who had their target weight has hit that weight. Now, is it where we want it to be down the road? No, it's not, because, you know, everyone has to be able to have the weight that they played the best at. You know, so that's why we're recruiting bigger guys. And, you know, we've kind of changed the way we're targeting high school kids. But as far as the guys that we have right now, everyone's hit their weight. Everyone's big and strong right now. We're super excited about it.
Then Eric was talking about how you guys knew each other on the Chargers staff in I think 2017.
Yep.
What stood out to him then as you're a defensive assistant? He's a defensive line assistant.
You know, Eric just cared so much about everything he did, whether it was a presentation he had with the staff, whether it was a day where he got to run meetings. Watching him on the field, I just saw how much he cared about everything he did. And then over the course of an entire year, I just saw him get better and better as a coach. And then when I went to Houston, he went to the Rams, and we stayed in touch. And when I got the opportunity to come here, he was the very first person I called.
When you say he was very prepared, like was he just like hyper prepared? Is he staying up all night to get ready for these presentations?
He just took a lot of pride in his work. You know, everything he did, he wanted it to be the best. He didn't do anything just to do it, and it stood out.
What's been the biggest challenge of installing, like you said, a new scheme and kind of getting these guys ready? Where do you feel like you're at, and what has maybe surprised you about the process?
The biggest challenge, again, is just small things like terminology, what we can call things. It starts with the staff, making sure that we're on the same page as a staff, saying the same things, using the exact same words, and then it trickles down to the players. The toughest thing in college is just the time frame that you have. You know, you don't have a ton of time to meet. So you have to be very, very efficient with how you install. You don't have a ton of time on the field, so you have to be very efficient with how you do your walkthroughs. So I feel like the staff helped me with that, and we did a good job. Where we're at right now, you know, we've gone through most of the playbook with the players. We haven't gone through everything, but right now the players have a great understanding of everything that we've installed. And in the beginning of camp, we're going to go back to install one. So a lot of the stuff that we're going to be doing the first couple of weeks is stuff that they've been doing and stuff that they know.
Is it like learning a new language to a certain extent with the different maybe terminology and all that? And how do you handle that with the players?
It is. It's a lot of meeting, a lot of studying, and then on our end, we try to make it as simple for them as possible. So this word means this because of this. And once they understand the why, they usually remember easier.
Where do you develop that language as a coach? Like, is that just you're picking up pieces from every stop that you've been on, or where was most influential, I guess, when you are talking about the nitty gritty?
You know, it's been a little bit of everywhere, and then also when I came down to college, just because of the timing that I got to UCLA last year, I couldn't change all the terminology. It was like 3 weeks before spring ball, so I adopted a lot of theirs. So when I came here, it was kind of like a hodgepodge of some Baltimore stuff, some UCLA stuff, some New York Jets stuff, and then with the mix of the staff now, I feel like we made the terminology system a little bit more efficient. But now it's a combination of some North Dakota stuff, some Houston stuff, so it's a mix of everything.
How much has that been a part of your coaching progression, being able to sort of take ideas from others, as opposed to, I would assume there are defensive coordinators out there that, you know, it's their show, they have a scheme they want to run.
I feel like for For me, I'm an information guy. I want information from as many places as I can get it, whether that's a former head coach like Coach Lynch or whether that's a GA. I think good ideas come from everywhere. If you want to grow as a coach, you can't block yourself off to ideas from other people. No one knows it all.
What are the biggest lessons that you're taking into this training camp that you've learned over the past year being a first-year defensive college coach?
There were some small things from, again, like how we installed, how we conducted our walkthroughs, the pace that we installed, doing everything last year for the first time. As soon as the season ended, I immediately knew, okay, I want to do like this next time and like this. So it's making small tweaks here and there to try to be as efficient as we can.
Do you feel like this group is ready to go faster in terms of the stuff you've been prototyping in training camp than you did in spring?
I do, but we're not going to. We're still going to move at the same pace that we had talked about as a staff. But I feel like right now, especially with the June and July, our players did a great job of doing a lot of work on their own. So like all through the month of July, we met with them every single Monday. We'd have a meeting and a walkthrough. And the rest of the week, they were on their own. They were with the strength staff, but as far as football-wise, they were on their own. They did a great job as far as meeting together just with the players, as far as studying their playbooks, and they're further ahead right now than I thought they'd be.
Eric seems to have had a way of kind of putting a jolt of confidence through the defense. Even just talking to the guys. What is it about his personality maybe that lends itself to that role?
His energy, he's like that all day, every day. He's the exact same, which I think goes a long way. It's just the consistency.
Any good stories about him as an defensive line coach when you were?
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any, but ask me next time.
Yeah, fair enough.
Coach, how much does it help your guys when you get to go against a guy like Zachariah every day? It's like,
helps a lot, not just him. We have a couple pieces on offense where, we want to practice against the best. So being able to sharpen our iron against players like that, it's just going to make it easier for us in the fall.
Kamari Ramsey was talking the other day about his chess playing. Have you seen his chess skills and how can you see that when he's a safety on the field?
I have not seen his chess skills. I've heard about him though. I've heard he's an outstanding player. But him playing chess makes sense. Just the way he thinks about the game, how quick he learns the playbook. He's a very cerebral guy, very, very smart, and it does not surprise me at all that he's outstanding at chess.
How critical has he been in terms of getting the defense?
He's been huge. Just having a player who knew the scheme on the front end helped accelerate things, because now when we get done with an install, there's just a lot of conversations that kept on going because people were asking him stuff, whereas last year those conversations weren't happening. So I do feel like he sped up the process, especially on the back end.
How do you feel about the defensive front, especially the defensive line right now and the depth that you have?
I feel good. Like I said, everyone who had their target weight has hit that weight. The guys are excited. The guys are eager. We feel like we have a lot of depth. We're excited about the young guys that we just got on campus. They've even made strides as far as like their strength and weight. So we're excited about the entire group.
Where have you seen Bear maybe take a step forward since you've been with him?
Bear mainly mentally. He had a hamstring most of spring, so he was not there quite as much as we would have liked, but he was locked in mentally the entire time.
Jalen Smith, he's a guy that was out all spring.
Yep.
Where do you see him fitting on the defense?
Jalen Smith is a true defensive back. He's a guy that can play safety, he can play nickel, he can play corner. So he's a guy that we've challenged to learn the entire defense, because we want to always put our best players on the field. And there might be weeks where that might be him at corner, there might be weeks where that might be him at safety.
How much pressure you put on yourself to come in here and kind of change what happened in the last few years?
We know what the expectations are, but I have the same mindset I've always had. We just want to be better this year than we were last year. And the only way to do that is to be better today than we were yesterday. And just keep on doing that. And at the end of the year, we'll like where we're at.
How much do you take from your dad?
A lot. I grew up wanting to be just like him as a player. And then once he started to coach, to be able to go to work with him and see how he interacted with the staff, how he interacted with his players, I got a chance to coach with them for 4 years, so I've learned a lot. A lot of the stuff that I learned, I probably didn't realize I was learning at the time. It was just more like just sitting back and observing. But now that I'm on my own, getting a chance to coach, there's stuff that pops up on a daily basis that makes me think of him.
People talk about how intelligent you are. How do you feel, when people talk about that, how do you feel about that?
When people
Talk about how intelligent you are, how smart you are, defensive person with a mindset. Someone in the player just said that you make everything simple, but it's hard.
I was very, very fortunate to learn from a lot of good coaches who went out of their way to coach me, to develop me. And then I'm also very fortunate that I coach smart football players. And when you coach smart football players, it's always going to make you look a lot smarter as a coach.
Mario Ramsey, Big Ten Media Days, he was asked to speak to your philosophy. He said we're aggressive, and that you want to dictate the game. That's a defensive credo for a lot of people. Can you speak more of that and elaborate a little more on, basically imposing into your will?
Yeah, so like obviously we like the blitz. We play aggressive. We call the game aggressive, but there are certain things that where we're just going to do it no matter what. So there's an element to our defense where we have to adjust to what the offense is doing because you have to be able to defend what they're doing. So they come out in this formation, we might check to this. They come out to this, our front might be that. And then there's an element to our defense where we call this, no matter what they do, we're doing this.